Here we go now.
Welcome back to the Kempire channel, your number one source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. Let me know if you can hear me, see me, and do all the things. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, shout out to our live chat. Shout out to those of you watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter. Where else are we live? Facebook, right? I said the Facebook already. All right, guys. This is our Rewind and Rewatch recap of The Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 6. Again, thank you to everyone that chose Season 6. So many iconic moments are in Season 6. And we haven't even gotten to the reunion. Next Monday, we will be talking about Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion. Let me turn my notifications off, y'all. Let me do that. There we go. And don't forget, you can also hear our live recaps and special exclusive episodes on the Kempire podcast. I did drop a good, juicy Club Kempire episode. And if you don't know what that is our special paid Apple Podcast subscription. There's a free 3-day trial. We talked a lot of different stuff from Big Brother. We talked about Funky. We talked about a lot of stuff. That's where we have a lot of kitchen table talk. So become a Club Kempire baddie today. All right. More information can be found on your Apple Podcast app, or you can go to the website if you don't have an Apple product. Okay. Go check that out. Yeah. Winter says Season 6 is iconic. Not gonna lie. I remember the season, but I didn't realize how many iconic moments were in Season 6 of Real Housewives of Atlanta. And we didn't even get to the reunion yet. The reunion's where Porsha and Kenya get into it physically. That's also where Phaedra does her, you had to go to a sperm clinic. All of that. But we have 5 episodes to get through. I'm not going through chapter and verse each episode, okay? I just want to talk about the biggest moments. And one of the biggest moments that stood out to me in episode 17 was Cordell sitting down with Peter. And yes, I think Peter was being messy. I think Peter gets too involved, but that's what made Peter and what made it television gold, what made production probably love Peter. Okay? Because when he sat down with Cordell, it really made me look at the situation differently. Now, when we look at who we've come to know Porsha Williams, formerly Stewart, formerly Gobadia, now I'm like, wait a second, Portia's been a liar this entire time. After watching episode 17 of season 6, I was like, wait a minute. But remember, I said this before when we were recapping the earlier episodes of the season. I said, I found it interesting when Porsha says she was blindsided by the divorce, but in the same breath was sort of like, I asked him, are you going to divorce me? Who asked that if everything is copacetic in a relationship? So when Peter sat down with Cordell in episode 17, I was like, wait a minute. And that's also where he talks about the pizza, remember? The pepperoni pizza on his cream linens. Tanya says Peter was petering. And he has not changed. And maybe that's probably why. I don't know if Peter and Porsha ever really became friends. Because remember, in that episode when they go to Mexico, he tells Porsha, oh, I met with Cordell. Remember, we just did a report on Peter getting himself involved in the Simon Gobadia of it all. He's just messy. He's just messy. He's always been messy. He's always involved himself. I think even after leaving Real Housewives of Atlanta, I think being on this platform did wonders for him when it comes to being a celebrity, but also for his businesses. So after not being a part of it anymore, I think that it affects everyone's ego. We talk about this. You know, I love the psychology of people and the psychology of reality television, okay? Because all of them, you get a little taste of this attention and fame and what it can do for you in your pockets, especially in those early years. Especially in those early years. The folks are not making what they made back then. I'm sure in Peter's head, he's like, I want to be involved. I want to be involved. I want to be involved. And he was willing to be messy at any cost. So Peter sat down with Cordell in episode 17 of the season, because Cordell, throughout the season, we saw what Porsha was alluding to during the season, talking about, you know, she never said it. Kenya was the only person in these next episodes that we're talking about that called it out and said, so you're saying that pretty much you were his beard? And she tried to sidestep it, Porsha. Like, no, I'm not saying that. But everything that she was saying in these episodes about the divorce and painting an image and trying to fix an image was alluding to the rumors about Cordell. So she was pretty much in her own way, sort of putting it out there, but not putting it out there 100%, only for us to read between the lines. So Peter sat down with him, being messy. Peter sat down with him, and Cordell was quite revealing. First of all, he says that she knew the divorce was coming. She knew the divorce was coming for a while, for months. That's what he said. Then he talked about Miss Diane, and he talked about the family being involved and the family always coming over. Simon said the same thing. The way that Porsha painted it was that I couldn't have my family over. And she probably said that because Cordell's like, your family's always over here. So she tried to switch that around, especially now. Back then, we all probably still looked at Porsha probably a little bit differently. Like, okay, we're not sure what happened here, especially because in her first season, she was so dedicated to being Mrs. Stewart. So I think in season 6, we gave her grace. But now, how many years later, 10 seasons later, almost 11, we're like, oh, this Porsha is something else. Especially when we start talking about her being in Candy's play. The fact that Porsha felt like she should have the same sort of attention that Eddie Levert should have. Really? She's not showing up to rehearsals, but Eddie Levert is showing up, and Shirley Murdoch are showing up to hers. It told me everything that we needed to know about Porsha. Porsha wanted to paint herself as the devoted wife, but was she really? Remember, they weren't even married 2 years, her and Cordell. That's another thing that they talked about in episode 17. So, you know, the last episode that we talked about, episode 16, was the big fight between Marlo. Marlo looks great. Even years, you know, some of the housewives, their looks have upgraded. Nene's wigs in season 6 were horrendous. Like, they were offensive. I was like, especially when you're the queen of the show, your wigs shouldn't have been that bad. They were bad. But I have to say, looking at Marlo, her hair, her makeup, the way she dressed, even back then, looking at it today, she could wear that same look and outfit, hair, and makeup, and I'm like, Marlo was that girl. But was Marlo desperate to be on reality television? I believe that too. Two things can be true. But what happened was that Nene did not like the friendship between Marlo and Kenya, and apparently Kenya was a hot topic of conversation on a 3-way call with Marlo, Nene, and Cynthia. And Nene basically said, you can't be friends with Kenya. And Marlo's like, I'm a grown woman. You can't tell me who I can be friends with. You might be used to these lackeys. So because of that, allegedly, that was part of the reason why Nene stopped filming with Marlo and stopped being friends with Marlo. But Marlo's like, I'm still going to be on this show, and I'm going to be friends with Kenya, and I'm going to be in your face. So that was part of the reason why Nene refused to talk about Marlo. And I think it's probably because she was afraid of what might come out if they did speak about Marlo. Jessica says that Marlo brought fashion to the show. Yeah, when you watch, again, another reason why season 6 is so iconic, you see that. Because nobody was dressing like Marlo. Even when Marlo wasn't even dressed up. It was like, oh, Marlo was at the same townhouse. Even her townhouse, when you look at how it was decorated, I was like, okay, Marlo has taste. I still think Marlo should have never been a full-time housewife. I think she shined. She set the bar high for a friend of. Her as a housewife, it just didn't land because it wasn't authentic. It wasn't. But as a friend, she was fantastic. I mean, she was beautiful. Like, Marlo looks the same from season 6. Not everyone else on this cast looks the same. Kenya looks the same. Kandi looks the same. Kenya's makeup got better over the years. Kenya's makeup in season 6 wasn't great. It was a little harsh. All right. So Kenya and Marlo commiserate about Nene, and they said Nene's not the same. She's a little miserable. They didn't use that word. I'm going to use that word. Nene was a little bit miserable because, remember, The New Normal, a show that was created with Ryan Murphy, with Nene as a star, it got canceled. Didn't get picked up. So they say she must be, upset. She gets, a few minutes on Glee, but that's not a series regular like she was on The New Normal. So they're saying that Nene is upset about that. What we see in these next 5 episodes that round out season 6 is all we see from Nene's storyline, besides her fight with Peter and calling him Patricia and calling him the B word. We also see Nene sitting down with her manager. We also see Nene launching an HSN line. Like, Nene really was on a trajectory to be, I don't want to say she was going to be the next Wendy Williams, but she was on that trajectory of having her own talk show, having, an acting career. She had a lot of things happening for her. And I think some of the reasons why she ends up not having any of those things was not because she didn't have the star quality for them. I think her ego, and this is what turned off a lot of RHOA viewers. Even Wendy Williams called her out in that interview that they ended up doing after reuniting. She said, your ego is what turned fans off. And this is where we're starting to see it. This is the foundation of where the ego was starting to change. And I think the New Normal being canceled was supposed to humble her and her kind of pivot. And she doesn't pivot. She gets worse. Okay? Winter says Nene was supposed to be big. And Nene still is. Please understand, Nene's name, you mentioned Nene's name, it trends. If there's a story with Nene, it trends. Nene still is a big name. Nene is still iconic. I think Nene just got in her own way. She really got in her own way. Do I think it's impossible for her to return? No. I think and when I say return, I'm not talking about return to Real Housewives of Atlanta. I mean return to that, because obviously there's something there. She has the it quality. All right, she's not starless. She's not starless. She definitely has star quality. This season alone shows you that. But anyway, I've digressed. So we had that meeting with Kenya and Marlo. Then we had Peter meeting with Cordell and the pepperoni pizza. Sidebar, they're in the moment, because this is where they go to Mexico. Porsha mentions that she's part Mexican. I didn't know that. But then I was thinking, now she was owning it. Oh, I'm also Nigerian. You just never know with Porsha. She also thinks the Underground Railroad was real, like a real railroad. So Peter tells Porsha about his conversation with Cordell. If you watch episode 17, pay attention to Porsha's face when he says, "Oh, I met with Cordell." She's like, "Oh, and what'd you guys talk about?" She seemed nervous. But he basically says what Cordell said. And she was sort of like, she did not like it. You later see Cynthia have a sit-down conversation with Porsha because she wants to kind of ease things with her, because she doesn't want her to think like, that she met with Cordell. Regardless, even if you didn't meet with Cordell, that's your partner meeting with Cordell. Peter being in the women's business. Akita says Mexican and Nigerian. Okay. She could be. I found it interesting. Just certain little tidbits that you pick up when you rewatch these shows. But I have to say, it's been a nice rewatch. So again, thanks to everyone that voted for season 6. Okay. Oh, it is a members only live chat. So shout out to our members. We appreciate you guys, but doesn't mean you guys are still watching. So shout out to everyone that's watching. Don't forget to like the video. It's an easy and free way of supporting not just my channel, but other channels as well. Don't forget, this Friday is the final Kempire After Dark, the villain era live show featuring the Brooke Ashley here in New York City at the Green Room 42. There are live stream tickets available. So that means anyone can watch from around the world. Go get your tickets today. Ticket information is available in the description. You have to get your tickets before the show. Once the show starts, it'll be too late to get your tickets. And if you have the live stream option, you'll be able to watch the show for a week. So for those of you watching internationally and you're like, oh, I won't be up that late, fine. Get your ticket now. You can watch it later. But if you are also attending, I said this, and this is only if you have the coins. If you don't have the coins, it's not all the coins, but I'm not judging. I'm just saying. But if you have the coins, sometimes when you're in the experience, you're sort of like, oh man, what said? And you want to rewatch it. You want to re-experience it. Get a ticket. Get a ticket for the live stream as well, even if you're coming in person. Just saying. I don't want to spend your dollars. I understand not everybody got the dollars. Okay? It's okay. No judgments, but I'm just saying if you do, that is an option out there for you as well. Okay. Final show. So much tea to be spilled. So many hot topics to talk about. I will be talking about Real Housewives of Potomac. I will be talking about the exclusive information that DC only heard. Remember DC? I haven't shared it anywhere else, DC. The only place I shared it was Club Kempire. What we talked about, what happened to me. And Brooke has her own tea to spill, and I'm sure you have tea to spill. So if you're coming to the show, bring your tea. And get ready to, and we're going to try and incorporate more Q&A because I know the New York City show are short because of the venue. However, we're going to try and make sure our Q&A portion is good so that we're able to get to most of the questions that are in the audience. Okay. Again, ticket information for the Kempire After Dark live show is available in the description. I'm Torre. Thank you so much for the super chat. Nene's ego blew up right after that Trump show, The Apprentice. I'm so mad that we can't even watch The Apprentice anymore. That used to be a show. Remember The Apprentice, y'all? I used to love The Apprentice. But anyway, Celebrity Apprentice. But I also like the original too. Thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate it. Anonymous, thank you so much for becoming a member. We appreciate that as well. Guys, don't forget you can become a member at teamkempire.com/join. All right, so back to this. Let's move on. So they're in Mexico. All the couples arrive. The Kenya and Miss Lawrence arrive early to get everyone situated. Kenya puts a picture of herself in all the rooms. I have to say, though, she did a good job with this trip. We know she didn't really plan the trip. But for the most part, because, we've come to see Kenya plan other trips in later years. And we're like, remember, they went on that other Kenya trip and they were hungry. And she ordering food for herself. Just saying. Mr. Melon the Magic, thank you so much for becoming a member as well. We appreciate your support. All right, what else happened in episode 17 before we move on? Because I'm going to be talking about this is where Porsha sits down when they're in Mexico and everyone's having dinner, and she describes the relationship. And she says, I told Cordell we're going to be a picture-perfect couple. I'm paraphrasing. But the way she was describing it, everyone was like, what? Even Cynthia at one particular point was like, wait, they had financial issues because Porsha said that, I will work. I don't want to just be at home, blah, blah, blah. And Cynthia was like, Porsha sometimes conflicts the things that she says because she's lying. Because she's lying. But Kenya is the one to call out the way that Porsha was describing her relationship with Cordell. She was like, so you were his beard? And Porsha was like, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. But that's what you're describing. Because you remember the rumors about Cordell at the time, the incident. All right, Google schmoogle it. We're not going to, for legal purposes, rehash it. Okay? So people think or allege that that's what Porsha was for Cordell. Okay? Porsha and Cordell apparently had some sort of financial issues, according to Porsha. Not sure what those could have been, but what we see later in the season, Cordell did not. Well, no, he mentions in his conversation with Peter, he did not put her name on the house, Porsha, because she didn't pay the taxes on the condo that she had, and she ended up losing it. I'm just saying when we hear stuff like that and then we see what's happening right now with Porsha. Porsha suing Simon Gobadia for like $700,000 in money that's owed to her since they're divorced. She's selling her Duluth home. We don't know why for $1.85 million. Maybe is it to help finance this house that has multiple attorneys' liens allegedly on it? I don't know. But I thought that was some tea that Cordell spilled. Obviously, producers, Messi Carlos, all of them set up this conversation with Peter. Because yes, Peter was being messy, but Peter filming with Cordell clearly was production and the network being messy, trying to get this tea, trying to get Cordell's side, because you see what Porsha has been saying about him during the season. Exactly. Keith says a few episodes ago, she was insinuating that he was gay, Cordell. Okay. Hey, Tea Talk with your girl. I met her at the DC show. Thank you so much for becoming a member. We appreciate your support. Anonymous T says he wasn't going to let that knucklehead mess up his money, which was smart because I'm sure Cordell's living a very comfortable life. You see, when Peter comes to the home, he's like, wow, you're living well over here. Like, this is really nice. This is nice. Okay. Let's move on. So that's what happens. This is only part one of Mexico from Real Housewives of Atlanta, our rewind, rewatch, recap of season 6. And you guys have been asking for the book club. We're doing all kinds of things. So stay tuned if you're a member. Shout out to our members that are watching right now. The live chat's only available for you. But members, I'm going to send a message on the post tab here on YouTube. So if you're a member, stay tuned for that so we can discuss the logistics of our book club. Oh, we're doing it. Back to reading. We're going to get these minds right. And I have the book. I know the book that I want to read. I had books in mind, but no, we got to read this one because the tea we got to get into. We got to get into it. So stay tuned, members. I will be dropping that this week so we can talk about the logistics of how this book club will work. You guys will help me figure out the logistics. I'm not going to just make the decisions, but we will talk about it. This is another benefit of being a member of the channel. Okay? You know what? I care with y'all in the chat. Let me move on. Let's move on. So episode 18, Flirting with Disaster. So the other couples offer Kandi advice because, you know, Kandi also was a big major storyline this season that was with Mama Joyce. So, of course, Todd is talking about the issues that he has with Mama Joyce, but his main issue is the fact that Kandi is not stepping up. The bigger issue here is the fact that Mama Joyce, during our last recap, you know, she tried to set Todd up. Literally tried to have one of Kandi's friends bring him out to the club and get him twisted with some other women and record him. It never happened, but she really tried to do it. And then she called Common and threatened Common. Threatened Common. Okay? So they talk about it. So the other couples try to give advice to Kandi during the situation. It seems as if Kandi is starting to come around and be more on Todd's side. And I'm glad that Kandi did because look what years later she's created with Todd, both financially, but also with her family. She has 2 kids with Todd. They've been in a relationship, 10 plus years now. So congratulations to them. I'm glad that Todd was able to push through because, again, I think all of us were saying, couldn't be me. Especially with the way that Kandi was handling it. The way that Kandi was handling it, I did not appreciate. And I would have given up on Kandi. Sorry. And I think if the tables were reversed, Kandi would have given up on Todd. But luckily, Todd was determined for his come up. Opportunist. No, play it. I'm kidding. He was determined because he loved Kandi, and luckily they made it through. I mean, it wasn't that long ago when she was saying that you know, Kandi took some lemons and made some lemonade. That wasn't too long ago, which caused more issues for Todd and Mama Joyce and this was after they've had kids. Seven says that Candy's broken cry was the soundtrack for this season. Yeah, it was. But they try to give her advice, and Todd again during this Mexico trip was just like, I don't know if I can deal with this. But we know fast forward, they do work through it. Winter says, if I was Todd, I would have been walked away. Everyone here probably would have, right? But there had to be more happening behind the scenes. They must have some sort of deep connection. Remember, it was in Africa where the shaman, I forgot what his official title was, said to Kandi that you're going to find the love of your life here. So it was kismet. This was something that was meant to be. And whatever energy that existed between Kandi and Todd had to be so strong that both were not willing to let it go, no matter what Mama Joyce was trying to do. Just saying. Hey, Rita. Rita, I love the tea. Thank you so much for the Rita gifted me tea for my birthday. And yes, my birthday was almost 5 months ago, but I just got it. Okay. Rita says, whenever I see Kandi nowadays, I always think about the AI baby Kandi constantly eating. That's us Tauruses, Rita, you know. Look, you're a Taurus. We love to eat. Was it TJ Lovelady who creates those baby RHOA things? I haven't seen a new one in a while, TJ Lovelady. What's going on with that? There's so many iconic moments. Angel says, thank you, Angel, for being a member. Angel says, I would have chose Todd if I were Kandi and gave Mama Joyce her walking papers. I think that's basically what she did. It took a lot to get there, but eventually that's what she did. All right. The producers were so shady because remember this episode 18, the way that they were trying to make it seem. You remember they went on their excursion, they went into caves and Kenya went into the water. She goes into her bathing suit. Remember there's these issues between Kenya and Phaedra and some sort of inappropriate relationship with Apollo. My thing is here, the way, I mean, especially now watching it, you can tell production was trying to make it seem like Apollo was so like, he was like humming, looking at Kenya in her bathing suit and Kenya looking off like as if Kenya was looking at him. They were so shady for that edit. Okay. I'm like, come on, guys. Clearly, when you watch this old school edit, you're like, there's nothing happening here. You guys are trying to manipulate the edit to make it seem like Apollo is like, hooga. Like looking at Kenya in her bathing suit, then their interaction when she's going up the stairs. They got the camera on him because he's trying not to look at Kenya as she goes up the stairs. I'm like, come on now. Yes, was there some sort of sexual energy inappropriateness between Kenya and Apollo? Yes. But the way that they were trying to make it with the edit, come on. Mr. Mellow Magic says Kenya was sticking her butt out. She was not. Stop. Okay, exactly. Miss Foodie says, yep, your husband is here with you every day. Okay. Elizabeth says, no, she negotiated with her mom. She gave her mom a house and did the prenuptial and on. Oh. Yeah, I mean, but somehow they're still going strong. It's also interesting to watch season 6 when they do A Mother's Love, Todd and Kandi, because that's the season finale, the final curtain that Nene didn't show up to. Do you think Nene was really sick or Nene was trying to not have the season finale be about Kandi? I mean, I know the blogs at the time were saying that Nene was sick. Oh, Nene's sick. But you know how media can be manipulated, trying to take the attention away from Kandi. There's always been this little thing between Kandi and Nene. And I don't know why Nene even allows it, because Nene, you're great. You are great on this show. You are iconic on this show. But it's always this energy between her and Kandi. But more so on Nene's side. But we'll get to that. All right. So that edit the producers were trying to do, I was like, come on now. Nothing's happening between Kenya and Apollo yet. We'll talk about it in a second. But in another excursion, Kenya, Kandi, and Nene and Cynthia go on this sort of like meeting with another shaman And this is where Kenya, and I think this might be where Kenya and Kandi finally may start the setup of their relationship, because Kandi literally says, I wish Kenya was more vulnerable like this, because Kenya opens up about wanting to have children, and that's the part of the reason why she wanted to do this. Okay. And then she then Kandi says that, oh, I think this is the real Kenya. Okay. This is the real Kenya. Why don't we get to see more of this? Remember, at the top of season 6, I literally say that. I'm like, who is this Kenya that we're seeing? Like all the twerking on the piano, twerking on the counters, all this like, ah. I think a little bit of that is true, but I also think that it was her being performative, not knowing who to be on reality television. And Kandi literally says, if she shows more of this side, I think people would like her more. People would be more open to her. Okay. All right. Moving on. Oh, wait. Jessica says, yeah, Nene had a pulmonary embolism. Oh, so she really was ill. Okay. See, look, I don't remember all the details. Remember, we're talking about a show from like 10 plus years ago, a season from plus years ago. Sissy says that I thought she had blood clots in her lungs. Now that you say it, now it's coming back to me. Foxy says she was acting. The singer says that was the real Kenya. I think it's on some level, it definitely is, but there was more to her, and we get to see more of that in this moment. But this was also a nice opportunity for them to talk about being mothers. It was actually a really nice, warm sentiment that we see happen between Kenya, Nene, Kandi, and Cynthia about motherhood and Kenya's struggles with that and whatnot. Okay. All right. Then Kenya and Apollo. So rewatched this episode, this scene earlier today, when Kenya has this one-on-one conversation with Apollo. But even before she has the one-on-one conversation with Apollo, Kenya's conversation with the guys, she was the only woman down there with the guys as they were all having cigars and drinking and things like that. But the way that Kenya was talking with the guys, and the way that these guys are married, so they also were being inappropriate as well. I was like, this is inappropriate conversation for Kenya, a single woman, and these married men to be having with her. And then it got even more inappropriate when Kenya sits down for a one-on-one with Apollo. Kenya, you already know how Phaedra feels about you and whatever inappropriate happened between you and Apollo. Apollo, you're the husband here. You know how your wife feels about this. So sitting down for this one-on-one conversation without Phaedra, and then Phaedra popping up and seeing you guys do, I felt for Phaedra in this moment. She's like, what's going on here? And then she walks away and she's really upset. And Apollo's like, you're not going to tell me who I can't talk to, blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing. Apollo keeps saying, he said it to Phaedra and he says it to Kenya, I could have slept with you if I wanted to. Why did you feel that way? Because I believe you guys were having inappropriate conversations. How did you read from the conversations that you were having with Kenya that you felt like you could have slept with her? It says to me that you guys are having inappropriate conversations then. You know what I mean? Because if we're just having casual conversations, I'm not going to automatically think I could have your man based off of friendly, platonic conversation. The only way I'm going to get that vibe is if one person or both people are flirting with each other. Because he kept on saying that confidently. He said it to his wife, and then he said it to Kenya in this conversation. The conversation was inappropriate. I think they both were wrong. And the fact that during this trip, probably part of the reason why Phaedra did not want to come on this trip was because she was afraid something like this was going to happen. It was inappropriate. But at the end of the day, Apollo's the husband in this situation. He's in this relationship. So I thought Kenya having the conversation with all the husbands, if you go back and you watch that scene, the conversation that she was having with them was inappropriate, especially being the only single one there, and these are married men. Here we go. Mr. Melon Magic always in the comment section with an inappropriate conversation. Mr. Melon Magic says, Kemp, you know you can take anyone's man. I wouldn't try. Why would I want to take anyone's man? Okay? When there's so many men to take. Okay. 7 says, I don't care what anyone says. Apollo and Kenya met up in LA. Okay, but 7, when you say met up, do you mean hooked up? Or they actually saw each other in LA, but nothing happened? I want to know what you think. Do you think anything ever happened between Kenya and Apollo? Inappropriate. Like physical. I already think the conversation was inappropriate. His Bookie Bear says the whole thing was disrespectful. Phaedra wasn't trying to go to Mexican jail. But even Phaedra's relationship with Apollo, and we've said this at the top of our recaps of season 6, even her relationship with Apollo just seemed like, did you really just accidentally get pregnant? Like, what? Or did you get pregnant on purpose? Because, at the end of the season, this is when Apollo gets in trouble again. So I'm wondering, was the pregnancies to protect yourself? I don't know, because I don't feel love between these two at all. I've never felt love between these two. I don't care how many times they want to slob each other down. I was like, but that's me. Oh, Elizabeth says, no one can take a man. The man is not a dog you can steal. Jamie says, I don't understand Apollo's continued appeal. What do you mean? Jamie, explain. Explain. Keith says, Phaedra and Apollo always gave mom and son. Right? There was nothing. Or, look, you say mom and son. I say, never mind. I'll say this at the live show. You see, sometimes you can't just say everything. Other things, right? Angela Staten. Not Sugar Mama. I wasn't even thinking Sugar Mama. 7 says, I think they hooked up in regards to Kenya and Apollo. All right, Coco's watching. Coco. Oh, yeah, Coco's watching on Twitch. Shout out to everyone on Twitch, guys. Make sure you follow me on Twitch. Twitch.tv/TheKempire. Not kissing cousins. I wasn't even saying that. I'm gonna, for those that are listening to the podcast version, you need to watch the YouTube version, because I'm highlighting Mr. Melon Magic's comment. Oh my gosh. Tyree says it was a Scorpio connection. Apollo's a Scorpio too. I told you I'm the product of 2 Scorpios. Just saying. All right, let me move on, because we literally have 5 episodes to go through. 5. And I really just want to highlight certain parts. We will be dropping the call-in link for members to call in, but the general audience, if you're watching, I know you may not be able to chat, still like the video, because I will be dropping the call-in link in the live chat as well. Okay? Keith says, what in the Alabama? Exactly. Okay. Okay, let's move on to episode 19, Mexi Loco. Phaedra, as you know, Phaedra caught Apollo at the end of episode 18 having this conversation with Kenya. So Nene and Porsha tried to explain to Apollo why this looks bad, like he doesn't get it. Phaedra and Apollo have their own side conversation away from the group as she's locked out of the room. And I felt for Phaedra in that moment. I really did. Have you ever been in a situation where you're in a relationship? Oh, I remember, but this is like when I was in my 20s, not my grown, 30s. Where you're with someone and something's happening in the group, you're with your friends, and you're having like an issue with your partner at the time, and they just don't see it your way, but you just you don't want to be around the group. I felt for Phaedra in this moment because it was inappropriate. So later on in the episode, Kenya mimics Phaedra and what she looked like when she came down, seeing them having the conversation. Kenya, you were wrong. You know how Phaedra felt about your interactions with Apollo, so you should have never sat there and had a side conversation. But I think that was production. I think producers were like, oh, Kenya, come down, film, have this one-on-one with Apollo. I wouldn't be surprised. This was the time that Messi Carlos was there behind the scenes, so I wouldn't be surprised. Okay. Um, Apollo tries to make it up to Phaedra by surprising her with the group for her birthday. So they do a little party for Phaedra, and she's like, "What's going on?" Again, why I never understood this relationship. So when Apollo makes a speech during Phaedra's birthday celebration, I want to thank you for being the mother of my children. That was it. That was it. You know what I mean? I was like, every time there are moments where he could dedicate his love. And look, do I think that Apollo's the brightest thing? No. But if you love someone, you don't have to be that smart to talk about what you love about them. The only thing that he loves about Phaedra in this moment, thank you for being the mother of my children. Again, this could be production, editing magic. He could have said a lot more, but everyone's facial reaction was giving, that's it. Yeah, Miss Melon Magic says, then the condoms fell out of the piñata. Yeah, that made no sense. Like, why are we having like, this is a bunch of married people. That was weird, but whatever. So Apollo makes that speech, blah, 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 blah. Nene gets upset with the group. So they sit down. This is a moment, because Nene was very sensitive about her age. She was also sensitive about how people viewed Greg. I got something for you, Greg. Rest in peace. Look. But we're recapping. It's no disrespect to the dead. Okay? So, but Nene expresses her issues with comments that Porsha made about older men. And then she had an issue with what Kandi said about, Nene, do you still get your period? And Nene was like, why are you asking that? She's like, I could have a baby tomorrow. Like, she was very sensitive about that. It was giving Adriana from Real Housewives of Miami this week. We were just talking about that. So she talks about that. All right. All right. So they get into a heated conversation about that. At one particular point, Greg mentions to Peter, because Peter gets involved in the conversation. Peter and Todd gets involved in the conversation. So it's like Peter versus Nene at one point, and then Nene versus Todd at another point. And Todd talks about Nene's delivery. But at one particular point, Greg says to Peter, you and I need to have a conversation later. And then if you look at both Greg and Nene's face, Nene looks at him because it felt like it was a setup. It felt like it was planned. I don't know if it was production or if it was just Nene self-producing. It felt like, so that's why we have the conversation that Peter and Greg have later. I have to say this. If you watch season 1, something changes with Greg's personality after the divorce from Nene, and then they get back together. It was more so he was sort of like Nene's lackey, sort of like the puppy dog running around behind Nene. It was like his whole personality changed. Anyone else notice that? So even the fight between Peter and Greg felt so performative. I felt like Peter was really upset with the way that Greg was coming at him. But at the same time, I was looking at Greg like, Greg, you ain't gonna do nothing. Like, you squaring up like you gonna do something. Like you remember what the kid he said during Pillow Talk? Here come Peter bucking up his chest like he gonna do something. That was Greg. Bucking up his chest like he gonna do something to Peter. I still remember how Peter got Kenya's ex-boyfriend and swung him around that radio station. Remember that? I saw that clip the other day again. Peter ain't one to play with. He's Jamaican. All right? Bucking up his chest. Oh, my goodness. Anyway. Tesker, I think you can do all caps on Twitch. But don't. Okay. Poor Miss Lawrence was with the guys, probably feeling all left out. Like, why am I here with these men? When Miss Lawrence did his impersonation of Greg, Miss Lawrence does an impersonation of like the entire cast. But when he did Greg, I had to look at the television. I was like, damn, he does such a good job at that. But anyway, but before the men even have their own side conversation, Peter, what's it call it? Nene has an issue with Todd. All right, they get into it about her delivery. At one particular point, Nene says, "Are you Peter or are you Patricia?" in her confessional about Peter getting involved in the women's business. But here's the thing. Do I agree with the way that Nene handled it? No. Do I agree with Nene calling him the B word? No. However, Peter was definitely involved in stuff that he didn't necessarily need to get himself involved in. Like the stuff with Cordell and Porsha. Now this other issue with Nene. I do agree with him feeling a way about how Nene handled the stuff at the charity event. But he was messy and getting involved in things that he didn't necessarily need to get involved in either. Angel says the divorce got Greg in one real quick. Singer says that I loved Miss Lawrence. Mr. Melon Magic says, plus Peter said, Miss Lawrence, this isn't your first time with a group of guys. Nah, it's not his first time with a group of guys. Okay. All right. What else? Oh, so the group starts talking about cheating. Speaking of Miss Lawrence talks about, I guess, I don't know if Miss Lawrence was dating anyone at the time, but she's like, well, if you go out and you are vibing at the club and you hook up with someone, I don't consider that cheating. Lies. The lies. But, you know, the gay community are the spearheads of open relationships. I don't see heterosexual couples talking about being in open relationships openly yet, but the gay the gay guys, I feel like that's more normal now than anything. I'm not judging, couldn't be me. Okay. However, when he said that, I was like, what? You don't consider that cheating? I was like, okay. But then all the couples are like, no, I consider that cheating. Okay. All right. So then Apollo tries to explain his thoughts on the possibility of Phaedra cheating. And he sounds, again, not like the brightest bulb, okay? The way he tries to explain it, I'm like, all right, Apollo. So Phaedra talks about the conversation that Kenya had with Apollo and why she walked away. She says, I should have slapped the dog-ish out of you. And Kenya was like, you would never. You would never try and touch me. I believe Kenya in regards to that. So then at the end of this episode, episode 19, we have Greg Leaks confront Peter about what happened at the charity event. And then it gets all kinds of heated. Again, I felt like Greg was being performative. Okay? I really felt like Greg was really being performative in that moment. It didn't feel real to me. It didn't feel like he was, bumping up his chest. All right? All right. Then while the guys are fighting inside, Porsha and Kenya get into it. And Kenya calls out Porsha and was like, oh, you over there being Cordell's beard. So Porsha gets really upset about that because she's just like, I never said that I was his beard. But the way that you described it, Porsha, was definitely giving beard. Right? Anyone else? But yeah. Keith says she probably thought the same thing about Porsha. Anonymous said, for clarification, Nene said, you need to stop being a damn bee. Yeah. Well, she says that when she gets into the conversation. So in episode 20 is where the fight between Greg Leaks and Peter Thomas continues. And this is when the ladies get involved. And this is where Nene calls Peter the B word. And everyone has the reaction like, ooh, okay, it's one thing to say you don't want him involved in the women's business. It's another thing to call another person's husband out their name, which eventually causes an issue for Nene and Cynthia. And I think this is where their friendship really starts to dissolve. Jessica says, I love Greg. OMG. I knew it was performative then, but he don't play about Nene. I agree. I literally forgot though, but rewatching, I was like, no, it's still performative. It still wasn't real. But I feel like Peter felt like it was real. I think it was performative on Greg's end because I think he and Nene came up with this. Remember, when you go back to when the couples were together in episode 19, when Greg says, "Oh, you and I need to have a conversation," Nene looks at him like, like she knew what the conversation was going to be about. Because she probably went when she went home. She was like, "And you didn't say anything to Peter when he was confronting me at the charity event." So Nene in episode 20, with friends like these, she calls Peter a B word and that he needs to stay out of women's business. Okay. So it leads to a back and forth. Nene says that she didn't mean to call Peter the B word, but she does double down and says, "But you were acting like the B word." And she says that in her confessional. JB says, "Do you want to live? Do you want to live?" Lord. All right. So Greg then tells Peter, once things start to settle down, when things start to calm down, Nene does apologize to Peter and says, "I'm sorry, Peter." But almost in a little sarcastic way. I don't know if she really meant it. Okay. But Greg then says to Peter, I'll let this one pass, but we got a ticket on the next one. So Peter's was like, "Oh no, you know what? I got to get up early in the morning. Like, you can't say stuff like this, Greg. Like, are you going to let this one pass? What are you letting pass?" So that's how the Mexico trip ends. That's how the Mexico trip ends. We're back in Atlanta. Porsha wants the same billing as Eddie Levert and Shirley Murdoch. She wants the same billing, meaning that she wants her name up there in lights with Eddie Levert and Shirley Murdoch. We're not talking about Porsha up to date. We're talking about Porsha in season 6, her second season of Real Housewives of Atlanta, against Eddie Levert, an icon, and Shirley Murdoch, another icon. So she's got a few demands. That's not the only one. She wants reimbursement for her travel. Okay. So she's sitting down with a conversation with Don Juan and Kandi talking about this. She wants the same billing. She wants her own dressing room. And she wants a mileage reimbursement. This is season 2. This is her second season. She ain't never acted before. She ain't never been featured in anything before. Winter says, once again, Kandi providing opportunities for people. Kandi had to set her straight. She was like, "You'll be sharing a dressing room with me." And who else was Shirley? I guess they were all going. You were going to share a dressing room, okay? The only person that had a dressing room, their own dressing room, was Eddie Levert. Okay? So you're going to share a dressing room with me. You live too far out. We're not going to pay for your mileage. Okay? And you can't have the same billing as Eddie Levert. This is where we should have known about Porsha. The audacity. You think if she's asking Kandi, who's a new friend, who's established, if she was asking for this from her, what she was asking for in her marriage? You know what I mean? But okay. So Kandi sets that out in regards to the contract negotiations. Mind you, at this particular point, the only person's contract that's not been settled is Porsha's. Eddie Levert's contract, Shirley Murdoch's contract, everyone's contract has been settled. What we're watching in these next couple episodes is them rehearsing for A Mother's Love, this play that Todd and Kandi are producing. And Porsha's not showing up for rehearsals. The stage manager is like, "Where is Porsha?" Later on, in I think it's episode 21, we see Porsha in the studio singing Flatline. And Kandi has to confront her. "All right, we need to have a conversation because you're not showing up for rehearsals. They're supposed to have rehearsals 6 days a week." She's like, "Well, you need to have your team make sure our team is informed of that because I was not aware." Only for her to call Lauren and Lauren be like, "Well, we did receive the email." Really? So she's not rehearsing. Mind you, she probably needs the most rehearsal of everyone. She's not showing up to rehearsals. Her contract is not even being finalized still, even after the conversation with Kandi. But okay, fine. Cynthia and Nene haven't spoken since they got back from Mexico. All right. Cynthia is very upset with Nene calling Peter the B word, and Peter says that, well, Cynthia, you need to tell Nene that, because he doesn't want to get into a back and forth with Nene because he's already being called a B word and being in people's business and women's business. This is also the episode where Kandi goes back to her high school and she's giving 2 opportunities to some of her former high school and to some of the current students there to be a part of A Mother's Love. She also gets to see her former drama teacher who inspired her to do what she's doing today. And she gets really emotional because she didn't expect for the drama teacher to be there. Sweet scene, very sweet scene. We also get to see Dee Woods, formerly of Danity Kane. She also graduated from this high school as well. All right. Porsha is still trying to figure out her contract I have written here and has missed multiple days of rehearsal. She's the only one with an understudy. And the understudy we see at the rehearsals, I feel like the understudy probably should have been the one doing it. Just saying. Nene and Cynthia sit down with their husbands to have a conversation about what went down in Mexico. And Nene calling Peter the B word. And Greg makes a joke. He's like, Cynthia, you want to call me the B word? You want to call me the B word? So they eventually get to a better place when they have this conversation. However, the cracks in the foundation that is Nene and Cynthia's friendship have already started to form. They are starting to form, and then you're probably going to see all this play out during the reunion. We will see it play out during the reunion. So this is, again, another reason why season 6 is so important to the Real Housewives of Atlanta. It's such a pivotal part of it. Okay. Let me move on from there. Guys, if you haven't already, be sure to like the video. It's an easy and free way of supporting not just my channel, but other channels as well. We are literally almost at 200 likes. Don't forget, you can hear our live recaps and special episodes like the one that I dropped over the weekend in regards to Club Kempire on the Kempire podcast. Be sure to subscribe today. We also dropped a juicy Real Housewives of Orange County extended version of our recap. So the one that you watched here on YouTube is different than the podcast version. It's a nice juicy one. So be sure to check that out on the podcast. All right. While you're there, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Pageant Mommy says the lens Porsha and Phaedra are viewed even in the rewatch. Yeah. Let me see. So they end the episode with that conversation. Nene says that she didn't even realize that she called Peter the B word, but he was acting like the B word. So she really, because even Cynthia in that moment, she's like, that's not really taking ownership. No matter how you want to spin it, this is what it looks like. You're calling him the B word, no matter what. All right. Let's get on to episode 21, Mess Rehearsal. So Porsha is in the studio recording her new song. Kandi comes to have a conversation with her because she's missing out on rehearsals. So, and this is after signing her contract finally. Your problem, Porsha. I haven't heard of Porsha being a problem behind the scenes other than this over the years, but this was like, come on, girl. Very entitled. For no reason. All right, so this is also the episode where we see Nene meeting with her manager to discuss her clothing line and other acting opportunities. This is neat where Nene's like, I was offered this other, particular role, but, as an actor, you don't take every single role, blah, 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 blah. I think they were just sort of setting us up for Nene wanted some sort of storyline, what's going on with her. So we wanted to talk about what's coming up for her. We do later see her go to New York to take a look at her HSN line. Okay. I wonder if Nene could have that now, an HSN line. I mean, I guess she could. she had the relationship with them. I don't know why she doesn't. I don't know. Well, she did accuse the network after falling out with them of preventing her from having other opportunities, kind of thing, blacklisting her in the industry. All right. Let's see. Cynthia. Okay, let's talk about this because we've talked about this in season 6 already. Peter not telling Cynthia about stuff. So in episode 21, Cynthia is finding out that the space that Bar 1 is in foreclosure. Peter reveals in this conversation that he had received a letter like a month ago about this, but he never told Cynthia. Excuse me? All right. And she's worried because the owner also owns the industry space where the Bailey agency is located. So Peter, he still has no idea what's going to happen with Bar 1, but very similar to what the song and dance that Mark Daly later says in later seasons. If I lose it all, I can create it all again. He says the same thing about Bar 1 in season 6. Peter. Fast forward in 2025, Mark moved to Atlanta, owes nearly $500,000 in rent. His restaurant's closed. Peter's restaurants are closed. And Peter's in jail. This is why we're doing the Rewind, Rewatch, Recap with Kempire. Because it's so crazy to watch what we see in season 6 and now what we know in 2025. Kind of crazy, right? All right. So they have a conversation about that, but this is where you're starting to see the cracks in the relationship with Cynthia and Peter because he's not being honest. Did we even ever find out why exactly Peter and Cynthia end up getting a divorce or what the reason they gave us? I don't remember. Here come Keith. You got to make millions to owe millions. Okay, that's all well and good. I don't think Peter has any millions left to give. But yeah. So this is where we start to see the cracks in their relationship. So we don't know what's going to happen with, I believe Bar 1 ends up moving, right? Yeah. But I mean, he does have a few successful years after this. He starts expanding, he moves to other cities and he has other businesses, but they are now all closed. Again, the restaurant business is not easy. We say this all the time. But it seems like he's never been good at it. If we're going to be honest. He's never really been good at it. All right. Kenya and Aunt Lori. Oh, I did not realize. It was this rewatch that reminded me that Kenya had Velvet for 7 years. And if you've ever had a pet, I know a lot of dog owners, they lose that pet it's like losing a family member. And when you look at Kenya's story and not having a mom, not really having a big family or really like any family at all, Velvet was her family. And remember, Velvet died and Kenya saw how this played out because it was attacked by a bigger dog. So I actually felt for Kenya in this moment. I don't remember feeling for Kenya back then. I don't know why. I just don't remember. But watching it back now, I'm like, damn. She had Velvet for 7 years. She took Velvet everywhere. And she actually saw Velvet die. Like all of it, just boom, boom, boom. So she has this emotional moment. Here's the thing. Whoever interviews Kenya next, can y'all ask her about Aunt Lori? And I know because we don't see Aunt Lori on social media or with Kenya doesn't mean that they're not in each other's lives. But it makes me wonder, are they in each other's lives anymore? Because she was very I liked Aunt Lori around Kenya. Like she was definitely a mother figure for Kenya. I kind of wish that she still remained. I think part of the reason why Aunt Lori decided not to be on the show anymore is because of the attention the show brought to her, especially when it comes with Aunt Lori's sister, Kenya's mom. So, but I wonder if they're still close. Because she was so there for her in season 6. Aunt Lori was there. She was present. She was comforting. So Aunt Lori was there to comfort her during Velvet's passing. And then they decided they're going to do a celebration of life for Velvet. Mama Joyce and Kandi in therapy. So they finally go into therapy. All right. So Mama Joyce tells the therapist, Todd quit his job. He quit his $90,000 to $100,000 job because he got with a millionaire. But this is a Scorpio mom. She then says, you see Kandi. She gained 30 pounds since being with Todd. And tells the therapist, you should tell her she needs to work out every day. I'm thinking she's saying this is what Todd needs to say to Kandi. So they have this therapy session, and the therapist, very, very good therapist. But did I think that it seeped into Mama Joyce's head? No. But Kandi is hopeful that she realizes, like, we got to do something about this. Aw, Seven says, I found this channel after my dog died in 2023. I was so sad, but Kempire and the Callers made me laugh during the RHOP recaps. That's part of the reason why I haven't gotten a dog. Everyone says I should get a dog. I think I would love having a dog. A lot of my neighbors have dogs. But I don't know if I could deal with the losing of a dog. You know what I mean? Like, I always think about that. I'm like, I don't know. But I guess that's part of life. But at the same time, I'm like, But also, that's a small reason why I haven't gotten a dog. The other reason is that I like to travel. I like to dip it and do it when I want to. I can, but, you know, you got to go. And then am I going to feel away for leaving the dog for a week or two? You know what I mean? Yeah, and then we had that iconic moment. Thank you, Mr. Melon Magic, for reminding us when Cynthia sits down with Kandi and Cynthia. When Kenya sits down with Cynthia and Kandi to tell her that Velvet died. And now when I look back on it, thinking about how long Kenya had that dog, Cynthia's reaction like, ah! And then Kenya's just like, oh gosh. But she's like, well, you've had that dog for such a long time. We know how much you love that dog. Like, that was a complete shock. And the thing is, it's not like Velvet was sick. Velvet was, you know, randomly like life taken away. Oh, Singer says, I found this channel after I lost my mom in 2024. Very sorry for your loss, Singer DST. Shout out to you guys. I'm so glad you guys are able to find a community here during these dark times, especially now with everything that's happening in this world. Oh, Jen, I'm sorry to hear that. I put my dog down this past Friday. I'm sorry. Sissy says, losing a pet is traumatic when you've had them for a long time. They really become family. And I think for me, not to say that it would have changed anything, I think in this moment, I didn't realize that Velvet was with Kenya for 7 years at that particular point. And again, probably would have been with Kenya for God only knows how many more years. You know, the way that the dog was life was taken. Angel says, what? Oh, hold on, Angel. Got to find your comment. Guys, if you can see behind me, for those that are watching on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook and things like that for the podcast, we're at 549,000 subscribers. I know it's blurry, but you know, because we have the little focus on. But let's get to 550,000. If you're not a subscriber, be sure to subscribe and be sure to like the video if you haven't already. Let's get to 300 likes. We have over 500 of you here for our recap. Our rewind, rewatch, recap of The Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 6. Shout out to our replay crew as well. We appreciate you guys. Hey, Chef Lorraine. Chef Lorraine says, I told Mimi died this past June. She was 12 years old. Oh, wait. Oh, your dog? Mimi died past this June. She was 12 years old. She was a pit bull. Damn. Mr. Mellon, did Kenya ever get another dog? Does she have a dog now? Because based off of her reaction to losing Velvet, I was like, I understand why she probably never got another dog. A lot of people, after losing a dog, it takes them a long time before they get another dog. Velvet was basically Kenya's first child. Yeah. Oh, Chef Lorraine says, my dog Mimi passed away this past June. She was 12 years old. Wow. Sorry for your loss, Chef Lorraine. All right. Before we move on to the rest of episode 21 and episode 22, we are covering 5 episodes this week because next Monday is going to be all about The Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 6 reunion, part 1, part 2, and part 3. This is where so nasty, so rude. I said what I said. And then Porsha dragging Kenya across the reunion stage. There's just so many. And then, of course, the Phaedra read. All of it. All right. So if you're a member of the channel, I'm going to drop the call link for you guys on our post tab here on YouTube. Again, guys, keep liking the video. Once we get to 300 likes, I will drop the call and link for the general audience. Okay. Keep liking the video if you haven't already. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this, thank you. Thank you for being a podcast baddie. We appreciate that. But also, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. On Apple Podcasts and Spotify, I randomly saw a podcast review the other day. And if you follow me on Twitter, I highlighted it. And I was like, really? Right now with this podcast review? I'm gonna actually mention it to you guys. And I'll talk more about it during our live show this Friday in New York City. Ticket information is available in the description, including a live stream option. So go get your tickets today. Let me read to you what this ignorant person said. And I say ignorant person because I was like, when you read something that's a complete blatant lie, you're like, this is so ignorant. So this person says, they gave us a 3-star review. And they just posted this. They said, Kempire can be very entertaining, but he and his community are very hard on Black women. Our community are Black women. What in the Kelly Price? They are angrier at Karen Huger and Kenya Moore than Diddy. Have you watched our channel? We are more angry at Karen Huger and Kenya Moore than Diddy. First of all, you shouldn't even include Karen Huger in this conversation. Karen Huger, at 60-something years old, went to prison for her 4th DUI. We're going to be hard on her. She's lucky she didn't kill someone. So this is why when I don't sit and read the comments because it's not good for anyone's mental health, including yours that I'm about to rip into. But I was like, it's one thing to mention something that's legitimate, but to be like, we're harder on Kenya Moore. It must have been a Team Toro person. We're harder on Kenya Moore and Karen Huger than Diddy. You obviously have not watched our Diddy coverage. Just because maybe during our legal coverage, we're not voicing every single opinion that we have of Diddy, doesn't mean that we are not hard on Diddy. But okay, whatever. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Exactly. Coco says, some Team Twirl Delulu. And please understand, we have Team Twirl people that are part of our community, but they're not delusional. They're not delusional. They're realists. But anyway, so if you're a member of the channel, we've posted the call and link on the community tab. A live chat, let's get to 250 likes, and I will drop the call and link for you guys as well. For those that want to share their thoughts and opinions on our rewatch of season 6. Thank you so much, Mrs. D. Green, for the super chat. Mrs. D. Green says, it never works with a gigolo. I've never seen it for Apollo due to him claiming to be a man of God, but being willfully obtuse, not covering his wife. Ooh. Especially when you watch these last few episodes, you're like, Apollo, like, why are you sitting having this conversation? You already had the conversation with Phaedra about her being uncomfortable with this. But okay, let me get back to my notes because I want to make sure I cover almost everything. We can't possibly talk about 5 episodes of Real Housewives of Atlanta season 6 and talk about every single moment. We're talking about the main things that stood out to us. Mr. Melon Magic said it was a Ladam Martini. Is that what we're calling the Ladams now? Okay. Danny says we are hard on people when it's warranted. Exactly. But to say that we're harder on Black women, it's giving very much Kelly Price. It's giving very much Clarissa right now. Like, excuse me? So you're accusing other Black women, because the majority of our audience are Black women and gay Black men. Hey, Mr. Melon Magic. All right. Damn. Carmen says, I haven't watched since season 15. A lot of people. Even earlier than that. 7 says, Carlos must want people to start talking about the same way that people talk about him, so he left that ridiculous comment. I literally said that, 7. I don't know if you follow me on X. I literally said that, though, on X. I was like, whoever left this review, you're ridiculous. You probably also think that we are Martell apologists. I was like, wrong gay Black man. That's why you got to follow me on X, y'all. All right. So Mama Joyce and Kandi have that therapy session. Mama Joyce goes to see A Mother's Love in rehearsals. She doesn't seem impressed or pleased, but nothing happens. But Todd, I have to give Todd respect. He pulls Mama Joyce aside. You have to give Todd his respect because the way that she dogged him out on this show, talked about him in those Atlanta streets, tried to set him up, and he's been nothing but good to Kandi. The fact that he still tried to have a conversation and make peace with her, you gotta give him his kudos. Okay? So, Todd has this conversation with Mama Joyce saying that he wants to be a family with her, but there's only one way that they can do it, and I give him his kudos. I definitely give him his kudos. Tesker says on Twitch, I always had respect for Todd and how he handled himself with grace, in spite of the flat out slander Mama Joyce spread. Yeah, and try to create. Seven says, I did see that. That's how I knew where it was coming from. Oh, it's okay. It's always good. This is why I tell you, if you appreciate what we do here on the channel, go to our Apple Podcasts or go to our Spotify and go give us a 5-star review to counteract the people that just come in to hate and post ignorant stuff. Okay? That's why we still have a 4.9. Okay? Some people don't like it that we play the sound effects. It's okay, people. I hear you. I won't do it as much. All right. We're almost at 250 likes, guys. Keep liking the video. And if you're a member, I've already posted the call-in link. All right, we have a couple members that are backstage that want to share their thoughts on Real Housewives of Atlanta. Let's talk about the final episode, the season finale. Yes, we're at the season finale of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. It's called Final Curtain Call. We finally get to see Kandi bring this Mother's Love musical together. Tyler Perry was in the audience. She brings it together. Porsha was a part of it. We get to see them rehearse and bring this together. It looks like they did a really good job. I never got to see it, but they had 5 sold-out shows in Atlanta. All right? But at the top of this episode, Kandi and Todd talk about the prenup. All right? And it seems like Todd does not want to sign a prenup. And Kandi says, well, Cynthia and Peter signed one. This one and that one, Phaedra and Apollo signed one. Again, and I've mentioned this before during our recaps of season 6. It's so interesting to watch the friendship dynamic between Kandi and Phaedra, because more so on Kandi's side, Kandi went hard as a friend for Phaedra. So I find, and I know people always go back, people even this week, because Keke Palmer asked Kandi about the relationship with her and Phaedra. People get so mad when Kandi talks about it because people keep asking her about it, guys. Like, she wouldn't be talking about it if people did not ask her about it. Also, again, why season 6 is so iconic. Thank you, Mr. Melon Magic. That's from that place where we get legs and hips and body. It's from that. It's from the musical. That went viral during the pandemic. Okay? Winter says that Kandi was a genuine friend. You see it throughout season 6. Throughout season 6, Kandi rode so hard for Phaedra. I can't say it was in the same way, like reverse, but she did. But they had a nice, sweet friendship. It kind of makes you sad to watch that now that friendship just went out the window. Exactly. 7 says, you're supposed to love her, not hurt her. He sounded great. Eddie Levert. But anyway, so Todd says as long as the prenup is fair, he's all good with the prenup. So Kandi basically wants to secure the properties that she has, the businesses that she already has, her publishing, rightfully so. But remember, that becomes a big issue. Is it during the season or during their marriage special? I think it's during their marriage special. That becomes a big issue whether or not Todd is going to sign the prenup. The very last minute, Todd does sign the prenup. Okay? Then Kenya has a memorial for Velvet that the only person that attends is Cynthia. Out of the group. and she says a prayer. Poor Cynthia and her own dog. She could barely control her dog during this memorial. Kenya gets really emotional, remembering Velvet. I really felt for her. Phaedra, in this final season, she finishes mortuary school, and she says she wants to become a funeral director, and she wants to own her own crematorium and do things independently. Fast forward in 2025, she never did. I don't know. Again, I don't know if she has percentage in the other business with the guy that she was working with, but she never ends up opening up her own funeral home. She went through all of that not to actually do it. I don't know if it was just a storyline. I mean, that's one hell of a thing to go through in order for a storyline. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. But that would have been a smart business. People die every day. You know what I mean? Like, that's a good business to get into. And you went through all of that. You wouldn't necessarily have to run it every day if you get other funeral directors. You know what I mean? I'm surprised that she didn't. But again, if she has a percentage, I don't know. I mean, people have speculated that she has a percentage in the Willie Watkins funeral home. I don't know if that's a fact or not. But I mean, either way, if she does, that's good. Because again, that's good business. But I'm letting you guys know in this season finale, she talked about opening up her own crematorium and doing things independently. All right. Porsha finalizes her divorce, and we have a scene with her sister and her mom. And Porsha says they were about to go to trial, but she decides just to finalize the divorce. So she ends up getting nothing in the divorce. She probably ends up getting nothing in the. Mine didn't have a prenup. But I wouldn't be shocked because this is Porsha. She's trying to paint the picture one way, but the truth might be that her lawyer was like, based off the facts, I don't think you should take this to trial. I'm not saying this is what the lawyer said, but I wouldn't be surprised, okay, that the lawyer's like, yeah, you shouldn't take this to trial. I don't know the likelihood of you being able to win this, okay? But she decides to divorce Cordell, and she walked away with no alimony or anything. The ring, she still was able to keep the ring. She put it in the glass of champagne. But they did say, tell us at the end of the episode that she was dating some African tycoon. Is that the one that got her that Rolls Royce that people alleged was cousins to Simon Gobadia? Just say. Right, Seven says Kandi put a stage play together in one season while it took Sheree 15 years to put up a website, which, remember, fell apart when the website did go up. I remember that. A mess. But all right. Let me take a sip, y'all. Guys, keep liking the video. We're almost at 250. Matter of fact, I'm not going to start until we get to 250 likes. A lot of y'all are sitting here watching and enjoying the content. You see in the backstage where it says like, comment, subscribe. So like the video. Mm-hmm. Oh, Shakina opened up a funeral home. What's holding up Phaedra? I mean, obviously, she's not necessarily passionate about doing it. Anonymous T says, a website with no fashions, how dreadful. It's funny because one of the reports from 2023 that I did came up on my TikTok where She by Someone Else, the actual designer that you see eventually in later seasons, designed for that fashion show, came out and said that she didn't pay him. I reposted it on all my socials, so if you want a reminder, okay? Winter, I forgot. Thank you for the reminder. Did you see Shamia? Yes, Shamia, look, do I think that Shamia and her over-the-top cringiness is performative? No. Because even when you watch Shamia, when Porsha should have been at rehearsals, but she went out to the club and she was flirting with that white guy, and Lauren was like, he's cute. He was not cute. Right? Didn't y'all remember that white guy that she was flirting with and he was showing her how to golf? I was like, he's not cute. And she's like, oh, I'm between phones. You can give your phone number to my assistant. Well, no, she said her sister, Lauren. So she didn't plan on calling. He wasn't cute. He wasn't cute at all. Just saying. With that haircut. But anyway, but in that scene where she went out with her sister, she also went out with Shamia. She was out there with Shamia, and Shamia was acting the same way that Shamia acts right now, very over the top and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we find out at the end of the season finale of season 6 is that Porsha's dating an African tycoon, not Kenya's tycoon. Mind you, Kenya talked about this African guy that she was dating all season. We never saw him. He never was in town, I guess. Okay. But also at the reunion, this is the reunion where we get Kamoras across the street, right? What a season. What a freaking season. Oh, Funky says the tycoon is still married to his wife. They got hookah at the funeral home. Wait, Mr. Melon Match said, wait, Tiny Shekinah? Lord, they probably have hookah in the funeral home. Oh my gosh, I hope not. All right, so yes, Kandi is able to produce this all in one season. A Mother's Love. We have the grand opening of A Mother's Love. We see it all play out. Everyone shows up for her. Nene is sick. You guys reminded me that Nene had the blood clots, and that's probably part of the reason why she could not show up for the season finale. Okay. What else happened? Excuse me. I don't think there's anything else that happened. That's okay. That's all right. And thank you guys so much for 270 likes. Keep liking the video. If you're watching a replay of this, be sure to like the video as well. And don't forget, we have our live show, our final live show this Friday featuring myself, of course, and the Brooke Ashley. We're going to be spilling tea, talking hot topics. I will be talking about Real Housewives of Potomac. I will be talking about some things that I haven't talked about anywhere else. And I will be answering your questions, and meet and greets are available. But guess what? There's a live stream option for this show as well. So no matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to watch it and be able to watch it up to a week. But you have to get your tickets now before the show. Don't wait for the day of the show, because then you'll be locked out. And you'll be like, man, I'm mad. I didn't get my live show ticket. Just saying. Then you can watch it for as much as you want for a week. Singer says, I like the scene when Kenya and Nene was talking about the African. We're gonna talk about it next week when we talk about the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion, part 1, part 2, part 3. Okay. All right. Let's get to some calls. Live chat. I'm gonna drop the call link for you guys as well. Okay. All right. Let's bring up Cynthia, who's backstage. Again, keep in mind the opinions of the callers do not represent the opinions of myself, the TheKempire LLC, or our sponsors, and everything that they say is alleged. Cynthia.
Hi, Kempire. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm fine. I will be live stream on Friday.
And you also came to our DC show.
And I came for your DC show. Oh, you know what? Funny enough, after your DC show, I came to New York. My aunt and uncle, they live in Valley Stream.
Oh, okay.
And he had 2 strokes, so we went to go see him and celebrate his 70th birthday.
Oh, God bless.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kempire. This season was really, really good. I don't know what Phaedra saw in Apollo. I don't know why they get married. The same with Peter and Cynthia. I don't know if it was hookups to come on the show, but look what happened. They're not married anymore.
No. And all kinds of red flags were hitting them in the face.
Yeah. Oh, Kempire, I wanted to ask you, did you hear about Carlos King and Kiki Monique? What's her name again? Kiki Monique's interview?
I did hear about that. We talked a little bit about it during my recap of OC.
Okay, maybe I missed it.
Did something stand out in it that you wanted to mention?
She apologized to Katie. I mean, basically she repeated what Katie told her.
So she apologized for repeating it.
There you go. Yeah.
she wasn't apologizing like she lied about saying that Kiki told her that Katie told her.
She basically apologized for repeating it.
Okay. I mean,
well, I can't wait for the reunion though. I already got a babysitter for the kids on Friday. Kempire. I can't wait to have the TV all to myself.
I know that's right.
Yes.
Thank you,
Have
Cynthia.
a good one, Kempire. Thank you so much.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Taurus with the T's backstage. Taurus with the T is also featured in our Atlanta promo. You saw that, Taurus with the T?
No, where can I see that?
It's usually the trailer that I post. You can see it on my Instagram, but usually when we do the lives, I have it as the trailer. I see you in the trailer.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna go look at it. Hi, Kemp. I know it's been a while since I called back. You know, I had
Yes.
to switch over from T-Mobile. Um, but I wanted to say that this is my favorite season of RHOA, and I had never thought or interpreted that Greg and Peter's fight was on part of Greg being performative in any way. But I really do think that when they got in the car, Peter got on Cynthia and Nene got on Greg about that exchange
Mm.
because I feel like Nene and Greg have always been like two very powerful sources in Cynthia's life. And when she gets around them, she acts so meek and mild.
Mm.
Nene was like her girlfriend while Peter was her husband. So I think that during that time, Cynthia was really struggling to see like if the friendship was with Nene was worth it versus her marriage. And it's
Mm.
very interesting because a lot of people had said on YouTube in season 7 when Nene and Cynthia make it public that they had the fallout that Nene interpreted as Peter getting in Cynthia's head and making her choose between the relationships. But I never thought that Greg was being performative. I think if anything, he probably felt bad about not sticking up for Nene and making her actually have that exchange with Peter, which regardless of them being friends, Peter is a man at the end of the day and he shouldn't have maybe said anything, but Nene's
Mm.
wrong for the way that she walked up to him. She wasn't even close to him. Someone definitely told her that Peter had an issue with how she was acting. But
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be calling him
Probably a
next.
producer,
Yeah,
probably
I feel like that
Carlos.
that was so planted because you see Nene leaving and then walking back up the driveway all of a sudden saying, "Oh, Peter, you have a problem with me?" Like, Nene, girl, calm down. This is
Mm-hmm.
why people feel like they have to be on 10 when it comes to you because you're always on 10 when it comes to confrontation.
Yeah.
But thank you, Kim. I'm gonna go watch myself now on your Instagram profile.
Thank you, Taurus Physique.
Bye.
Bye. All right, we're gonna bring up some more callers, guys. Again, we're almost at 300 likes. Let's get there. Again, liking the video is an easy and free way of supporting not just my channel but other channels as well. And don't forget to leave us a stellar review, a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. We're gonna bring up Tyler next. Tyler, what were your thoughts and opinions on season 6 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta?
Hi, Kempire. So I do want to say this at the reunion. Well, when you get to the reunion, Greg let it be known that he went to production and wanted to say something to Peter publicly because
Hmm.
they all went out to dinner, and Greg they already had a conversation. But it would look like to the public that he didn't defend his wife. So you were right; it was performative. When we get to the reunion, they'll kind of address that. What I will say is, I don't see anything wrong with what Nene said. However, the bitch word shouldn't have been. Oh, sorry, the B word shouldn't have been said. She should have just said, "You need to stay out of women's business" or whatever like that. If I was Cynthia, I would have been mad too. And in season 7, Peter did make the statement like, "It's like I got my wife back. She's not on the phone with Nene 13 hours a day," and
Hmm.
things like that. So yeah, probably Cynthia was battling that. But I will say this. I knew that Portia was going to be exactly who she is now from those
Hmm.
seasons back then. She's never been anyone's friend. She's
Hmm.
always been self-centered.
Hmm.
Like, she's exactly who she is. And also, I always knew Kenya, as much as I do like Kenya and think she's a necessary evil, but I always knew Kenya would be the demise of the show
Oh.
based off the antics that she pulled back then. Like, why are you flirting with someone's husband and things? Kenya was doing a lot of stuff that is not truly her and putting on.
Hmm.
And I think we got the real Kenya after season 9 when Carlos King left. I think he was up her tail so much. "Ooh, girl, you are the show. You are the star of the show. You are this. You are that. You got to come for Nene. You got to do this and this and that." And I think Kenya being so used to scripted, and I think that's what people don't understand. She was so used to scripted
Hmm.
that she was very performative in trying to get scenes. And I think we got the real Kenya after season 9
Mm.
because Carlos King,
And this is why,
huh?
Tyler, we get reviews where people say that we hate Kenya,
No,
we go harder on Kenya than Diddy. It's your fault.
well,
I'm
I'm being
joking.
honest. Like, Kenya was not likable those first couple of seasons at all. Like,
Mm.
and I think that if she was somebody who genuinely like I'll say this, the reason why Portia always kind of ends up somewhat in the public's favor is because Portia is authentically her. Like her or not, that's Portia. Kenya, it's like you look at her and you be like, baby, you smarter than this. Over here flirting with someone's husband and then playing victim and things like that. Stop playing with the people and just be Kenya. That's the thing with Kenya. It's like Kenya and Giselle Bryant, I hate to say it, are the same people. The worst part is that's truly Giselle.
Mm.
So it's like, that's why some people, to be honest, that's why there's this love-hate relationship with Giselle. It's either you like her or you don't. With Kenya, it's like so many people will strongly dislike her. It's bad because they know it's not her. But that's all. It's just not her.
Okay. Thanks for calling in, Tyler.
You're welcome. Bye.
All right. We have Angel backstage. We're going to bring Angel up next. Angel, what did you want to share in regards to season 6 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta?
Hey, Kempire, happy Monday.
You too.
I just wanted to talk about, I'm not, okay. PSA, no Aquarius slander because I am one. But I just wanted to talk about that scene between Marlo and Kenya sitting there talking about Nene. They were just being two messy peas in a pod doing petty slander as us Aquarius can do when you flip on our bad side. So that's all I wanted to say about that because it was just see through to me as another Aquarius. So they were just being on our let's slander Nene train. And of course, Marlo wanted the airtime. And then I want to tell you, looking forward to the show on Friday. I will be streaming from California.
Thank you.
Save your voice because we want all the good tea and don't recap. Don't even do a pre-recorded for OC. We don't need it. It's okay.
Noted. Thank you, Angel.
Save it all for Miami and for the live show in Miami on Saturday.
Okay.
We will forgive you. It is okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, Angel. Thank you for calling
Have
in.
a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
All right. See? Yeah, because, normally we recap Real Housewives of OC and Real Housewives of Miami on Fridays. But, yeah, live show on Friday. Got to save my voice. I got people to entertain. Got hundreds of people that are going to be watching. I knew Danielle would be coming up in here with Team Green Eye Bandits. Here she go. People block her. Look, block her. She's a mod. You can't block her. Okay. Singer DST says they should have put her on pause. Kenya? Well, technically, it's come. Q Potato says, I swear YouTube is lagging. Any issues with YouTube, guys? Sometimes swiping out the app and coming back in. Or you can watch us on Facebook. You can watch us on Twitch like Q Potato is doing right now as well. All right. And make sure you guys are following me on TikTok because I probably will go live and talk about some hot topics and stuff like this on my TikTok later on. So make sure you're following me there, guys. We're almost at 300 likes. Like the video if you haven't already before we get out of here. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this, thank you so much for being a podcast listener. I did drop a new Club Kempire episode where I talked about a bunch of stuff. I talked about Big Brother. I talked about the funky talk versus the 9-to-5ers. We talked about a bunch of stuff. So become a Club Kempire baddie today. There's a free 3-day trial. So check it out. That's also where we talk about a bunch of other things like the White Lotus. We talked about And Just Like That. We talk about a bunch of stuff. All right. But anyway, thank you. Big Miss Muffin says hundreds at Kempire. You are worldwide. 100,000 will be watching. Yes. Did I say I was going to stop doing that? But it's okay. I'm going to keep doing me, right? Thank you. All right. Thank you to our King's Guards. Thank you to our channel members. Thank you to our subscribers. We appreciate you guys as well. I will see you all in the next one. Stay tuned. Stay locked. You never know when we're going to go live here on YouTube or go live on Facebook or Twitch or TikTok. Make sure you're following us everywhere. More information on everything Kempire, including our merch and our podcast and cameos. Happy Virgo season. Happy birthday to anyone celebrating a birthday. I will see you all in the next one. Thank you all for being here. Keep liking the video if you haven't already. And if you're not subscribed, help us get to 550,000 subscribers here on YouTube. I'll see you guys later. Have a good day.
Here we go now.